Hey guys, it's Josh, and welcome back to the Not So Bad Bachelor Pad, your favorite podcast for learning how to balance between being a functional adult and a raging dumpster fire. And some days, we all kind of feel like a dumpster fire. Speaking of being a dumpster fire, today's guest, not a dumpster fire, but could probably relate to having those moments where everything just seems to be on fire. You could have the degrees, you could have the perfect corporate job or the successful job. You could be in a quote unquote loving or successful relationship, but still find yourself at the end of the day wanting to just unplug and just detach from the world. I know I'm not the only person who feels that way. And it's not something that's unique to just men, just to women. I think it's something we've all kind of felt that are we enough? Are we too much? Just shit, life gets overstimulating. And what happens when we stop trying to put on a mask and actually look ourselves in the eye? So, to help us kind of navigate some of those big, confusing, scary feelings, joining us inside the Bachelor Pad this week is Joanna Shakti. Joanna, thank you so much for making time for us today. How are you?
I am great, and I'm really looking forward to sharing this conversation with you and playing around with these important conversations.
We've been doing this for 6-ish years. Actually, wow. At the time that we're recording this, our 6-year anniversary is in 3 days. So I almost forgot.
Congratulations. That's
Thank
awesome.
you. I know time has really flown. Even after 6 years and all of the classes I've taken, the workshops I've been in and kind of contributed to, like we talked about a little bit before we started recording, I still just feel like a person. I don't feel holier than thou just because I have more tools. My heartbreak is still heartbreak.
Yeah.
I still have disagreements with my partners. Sometimes I'm afraid to talk to the person I'm interested in. That doesn't change for us, but some people think that it might because of the line of work we're in. And I think you really specialize in peeling back those covers and exposing what's underneath.
Very, very much so. Authenticity, and I even like to call it ecstatic authenticity. The authenticity that feels so good. And it doesn't mean it's not scary on the path, but to live true to ourselves sets us up for the strongest relationships, the strongest connections, the greatest happiness. And it's something that I was just talking to one of my long-term clients this afternoon, and it's like the world doesn't condition us to be authentic. And yet it's where the greatest attraction and the greatest power is.
No, we really aren't taught to be authentic. If anything, we've been programmed to mask up.
Yes, yes. 10,000%. I was just going to say, like, when we're young, we hear, be a good boy, be a good girl. And, I don't like it when you do that, or we get embarrassed or teased on the playground, or we have our first breakup, or all of these things. Either someone's telling us to be a certain way, and so we follow because they're an authority, they're someone we love, we want their love, or we have those first hurts and we go, if I do that thing, if I be real, if I'm too excited or I'm too expressive or I'm too affectionate, whatever it is, I get rejected. And so we put on our masks and we're told to put on our masks. I wish parents would say, hang on, don't put on that mask. Or our friends would say, hang on, don't shut that part of you down when we get into those difficult moments where we want to hide.
I love that. And it's really underrated, or a lot of people don't think about it as they're dating or early into their relationship, or even when they start to get pregnant. Sure, we all wondered, are we going to be a great parent? Am I going to mess this kid up? We think about things like that, but we don't always think about, and you can't have a perfect game plan, but we don't have little game plans for some of these very important conversations around emotional intelligence and teaching people how to become good people.
Yes. And happy people, not
Yeah.
just good people, because even good people can be a trap. It's like how to be happy, how to be expressive, how to be fulfilled, how to have, well, ultimately, what I want for people is life, love, and lovemaking that take your breath away. And to have it take your breath away, we are not shutting ourselves down. We
You
are opening
can't. You
ourselves
can't
up.
diminish your light and think that you're going to be the star of the show.
Yeah.
In order to be the star of the show, like you kind of have to take the mask off. You have to get real. You have to get raw. You have to keep that level of ecstatic intimacy with a person because that's super scary for a lot of us. Being intimate is one of the scariest things that we can do as a person, as
Yeah.
people. And it's also the most rewarding.
1000%. We cannot experience true love. We cannot experience true ecstasy. We cannot experience that at home feeling of a really good relationship where it's like, I can be myself and I'm totally at home. We can't do any of those things without intimacy, which we can't have intimacy without authenticity. And its real partner is that the aspect of authenticity to let ourselves fully be seen in the good, the bad, and the ugly, which we all have, is the partner of vulnerability. And for almost all human beings, we have maybe a love-hate relationship with vulnerability. But when we look at men or masculine beings, there's a lot of conditioning and imagination that vulnerability isn't masculine. Vulnerability isn't strong. Vulnerability isn't powerful. And yet it is the greatest power.
I couldn't agree more. We've spent a lot of time over the past 6-ish years kind of deconstructing toxic or faux masculinity here. And I've said this, I'm not saying that your version of masculinity isn't masculine. However, I don't think it needs to be what was portrayed on television as we grew up. There's so much diversity and depth to any person, regardless of femininity or masculinity, because we're comprised of both. So I think, and this is just me, a
Yeah.
real man, a real person who's in their masculine isn't afraid to embrace their feminine side, isn't afraid to be vulnerable, because in order to be a good leader, you have to be relatable. And a person who doesn't have emotions isn't really relatable to another person, just in my opinion.
Yeah, add 10,000% with you. The only thing I think I'd add to what you just said is that the idea of masculinity and femininity, yin and yang, if they're ancient expressions and we see their presence across all of life. And so yin energy is yin energy and yang energy is yang energy. And we could dive into that. And one doesn't exist without the other. What I actually describe as, and I try not to use the word toxic, but to lean towards the unconscious, the unawakened, masculine is simply masculine energy that has a complete absence of any feminine energy. And on the opposite side, the unconscious, unawake, immature feminine has no masculine energy supporting it. So it's really our consciousness with it, our sacredness, whatever we want to call it, is, in my experience, really the partnership with the secondary energy for most people. Because most of us have one of those two energies that's predominant. Some people, there is a small percentage, after 25 years of working with people, there's a small percentage that truly have an innate, organic, balanced expression. But more often than not, we have one energy that's stronger. And what I want for every single person that walks into our rooms is whether they are far out on that masculine scale, male or female, they're far out on that feminine scale, male or female, or they're in the middle, whatever their orientation is, that they have permission to be themselves, to say, yep, this is the level of masculinity that I express. This is the femininity that I express. And I get to be me, and I don't have to be ashamed of that in any way.
It's a really big thing. Some people feel like they don't have the right or the privilege, the permission to be themselves. They think that they have to be something else.
Yeah.
There's no rule book. There's not a right and wrong way to be a person. However you exist is how you exist. We hope that we can find some healthy habits to mix into there.
And you're so right, because again, it's like this idea of authenticity, but how do we get there? And then what are the things that when things go off, because they will, and I love that you use the word communion. That's the second phase of our journey. So ecstatic authenticity, the beingness, is the first part. Ecstatic intimacy, the relatedness, is the second part. There's a third part that goes even deeper into the ecstasy, but in that second phase where we are often in soul connections, we are meant to push each other's buttons. And many people will run from that. But the opportunity is to go in. When it gets hard, go in. But we need the support. How do we do that? How do we express ourselves where we're not dumping our emotions on the other person, where we're not in an avoidant attachment pattern and pulling away. We're not grasping after our partner in that. How do we give space for our expression, space for their expression, feel secure even when we don't see eye to eye, so that our conflict becomes the communion that you mentioned, Josh, that communion that strengthens and deepens that relationship, that makes it harder to actually pull apart because we've gone so deep together.
I don't think it'll be new to you, but some people always say, like, into me, you see intimacy.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like ecstatic intimacy is a step further than that because you can be in love with life, with yourself, with somebody else. And over time, that love doesn't start to fade, but it might become stagnant. So I love the ecstatic part of that is just always revitalizing that connection with your partner. However, going back to that first word we use, authentic, what are some masks that successful people sometimes wear in their relationships to kind of hide the stagnation?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Hide the stagnation. There's like hide the conflict. If couples end up in the roommate zone, the friend zone, or I'm starting to feel like I'm falling out of love, the number one reason is because we didn't deal with our conflict. While the masculine, because of its ability to compartmentalize, has the capacity to stay engaged sexually when there's conflict, the feminine must feel connected for her body to open sexually. So, conflict getting stuck under the rug over and over again, number one destroyer. And if we pretend, oh, we don't fight, we're good, I'm fine, that's so, I'm good, because we don't want to amp the argument back up, we're conflict avoidant, we want to get over it, we are setting ourselves up to fall out of love, to lose the intimacy, to lose the spark and the attraction and the desire physically and emotionally. So, number one thing is the avoidance of conflict and the pretending that it's all okay when it's not.
No, that's even I like to use the word relationship, but I like to make the caveat that relationship doesn't equal romance.
Mm-hmm.
Because in any relationship, I feel like that is a really big key.
Yes.
Whether it's brotherly
Yep.
love, whether that's, with your parents, your friend. If the elephant in the room doesn't get addressed and they keep inviting more elephants, pretty soon you're gonna get smushed.
There's nothing left of that relationship. Yes. Yes.
And I get it. We're not saying that it's not hard to have those conversations sometimes, but what's harder to really open up and have a conversation on what's working or not working for you, or to lose a person who's meant so much to you? A lot of times people don't think about the end result or the consequence. They just need their relationship to be okay in this moment. Not even great. They just need it to be okay in this moment. However, how long is okay going to be okay is the question.
You're spot on. You're spot on. And yeah, those conversations can be uncomfortable. But the interesting part is go back to the ecstatic authenticity. And one of the things that we say in our soul love, ecstatic intimacy spaces is that the strength of the relationship with you determines the strength of the relationship you can have with another. The relationship with another can only be as strong as the strength of the relationship you have with yourself. And so part of what gives us the courage, the access to go into those uncomfortable conversations is to know I'm going to be okay no matter how that conversation goes down. I'm not threatened by my partners or my neighbors or my parents or whoever we're talking about in relationship. I'm not threatened here. Gives me the courage to go to those uncomfortable places that are unknown, and we really can't control the outcome.
No, for sure. I'm a firm believer the biggest and most nourishing growth happens when we're uncomfortable.
Yes.
Because when we play it safe and stay within this pot inside your boundary, you only are surrounded by either yes people or people who are afraid to grow as well. They're okay just being a sapling.
Yeah.
And what happens is you don't reach your full potential. What's okay now could have developed into something that was nourishing, that was iconic, that was a life worth living. However, you're just afraid to take that first step of saying, this isn't working for me. That's a travesty to me. I think we all deserve that one cinematic type love. I mean, like, you could have it more than once, but we should all at least have it one time in life.
There we go. And breathtaking can be simple, but it doesn't have to be, world travel and we did all this and it's the quality of we see each other. So this idea of intimacy that you were talking about, that I'm letting you see all of me. And that's really the requirement for intimacy, is I let you see all of me, warts and all, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And if I feel secure enough to let you see all of that, then I'm actually going to be able to trust that you love me. Because if I'm not showing you all of me, there's no way I'm going to believe that you like who I am, because you don't know who I am.
Exactly. That's major. That is so major, especially in this very fast-paced dating culture we have now. I tell people, the reason that I love slow burners is it really takes almost a year for you to get to know a person. That first 30 to maybe 90 days, you're meeting their representative. They are learning the role and performing it. They're on tour. After that 3-month period, you might start to see a crack or you notice the shift. It may be subtle to start, but you notice the shift of the jokes aren't the same. We're not maybe going out as much. You start to see what the real life with this person looks like. And then you start to meet family, friends, vacations, all those other parts of everyday life that will be your routine going forward start to settle. And some people are like, oh, this might not be what I thought it was.
Exactly. Exactly. And this is the thing. If we go back even to pre-first date, like, have some of the conversations. Are we dating for the same reason? That's a really good question to have.
I love asking that. There's nothing wrong with asking that, like
No,
even on
there's
your
nothing
first,
wrong. Yeah.
like a first date or the pre-screening.
Right. And it's not that I'm trying to get you to be that person, but if you're not available for the thing that I want, why would we do this?
Time is a precious commodity that you don't get back. So you're right. Let's stop beating around the bush. And I was like, hey, you're attractive. I'm attractive. I like you. You like me. However, here's what I'm looking for.
Yes.
You don't have that? All right, go fish. Like, you got
Next. Thank you. And it's thank you. I appreciate, I'm glad we connected. I enjoyed the smiles. It was good to feel the attraction.
it was a great conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, great conversation.
Like, guys, we have to take some of the investment out of dating. And what I mean by that is we keep trying to force every match, every person we meet, every date to become a girlfriend, a boyfriend, a husband, a wife. That may not be their role. And now that's going to force them to put on a mask if you keep trying to force the square piece to go in the circle hole.
Yes, exactly. Just be on the date. Just be you on the date. Not an interview, but just genuine conversation. These are the things that are really important for me. These are the things that I know don't work for me. These are some of the things I'm not so sure at all. So knowing ourselves going into the date, why am I dating? What am I really available for dating? What are the things that are important to me? What are the things that don't work for me? And know that there's always a gray area, but there are some things that we know. This is what I want, and these are things that don't work for me. Own that, know that, talk about it. There's so many people that are afraid that if I say that, they won't like me. Well, that's a good thing. If they're not going to like you when you say that, say it so that you can be done and on to the next one.
Exactly. There literally are plenty of fish in the sea. However, don't try to go to the pond and wonder why you don't find anybody like you. It's because you keep trying to go to the wrong pool. Okay,
Yes.
you have to just be open and honest. Appreciate the time, whether it's 2 messages, a date, a 6-month relationship, or forever with the person. Say thank you and then move on. Don't force the person who should have been a conversation into a 6-month relationship, because you're both going to feel unfulfilled at the end and you're going to have to go back to square one where you could have potentially had met somebody who was more your match.
Absolutely. This is redefining success. As I describe it, we imagine that success in dating or in a relationship is that we spend the rest of our lives together. But that's not the truth. The vast majority of dates that we go on, they're not going to last a lifetime. And knowing, getting in, being real, discovering each time we get the yes, like, oh, it matches, we keep going in, or we get the no, this isn't a match. Either one is a success because we were authentic. That's success in dating and relating.
For me, being successful in dating is just showing up. I
Yes.
have no expectations of what it should be, where we should go. My only goal is to be present with another person and enjoy that moment. Now, of course, I know, hey, I may be looking for a wife, or I may be looking for something while I'm on this 3-month contract, wherever. Having that expectation is fine. The issue comes when you try to encourage or force somebody to play the role that they didn't sign up for.
Yeah, exactly.
Joanna, this is going to be a new little segment on our show because I think you have a great judge of character. You've been doing this for quite some time. This isn't day one for you. So I'm going to give you a metaphorical gavel, and you're going to be the judge. I'm going to present you with a couple cases, and I want you to make a ruling at the end. Okay?
All right, we'll see how this goes. All right, well, I'll play.
For you guys watching or listening, these are some of the messages that you've sent in. I've obviously took names out, but we're just presenting scenarios and kind of seeing, because you get tired of little old me sometimes. So I figured we'd let somebody else kind of steer the ship a little bit.
All right.
Alrighty. This first one is from a 36-year-old woman who is out of Columbus, Ohio. Shout out to the 614. We miss you. She said, I've built a successful career of my own. I own my own home. I have everything together in my life, so it seems. But every man I've tried to date says that I'm intimidating. Are men threatened by a successful woman, or am I unknowingly creating distance? That's actually a great question.
Yeah, it's such a great question. And it's one that I sit with women in all the time. Our spaces are co-ed, men, women, singles, couples. And this is one of the most common challenges that successful women in this idea of, am I intimidating? Or, the guys who say she's too intimidating or I'm intimidating. So here's the key behind it. It's not about being intimidating. It's not about being successful. It's not about needing a relationship. It goes back to what we've been talking about. It's authenticity. So I'm going to use a bit of my story because it's a little like that one. I grew up in the heart of the 70s and I made a vow that I did not want to depend on a man, but I wanted to be loved. I wanted good sex. I wanted to be loved. I got married and we had all kinds of challenges and we were divorced 4 years later. I get back out into the dating world and I'm like, what's wrong with all the men? And I didn't want to depend on a man. So I got an electrical engineering degree. I got an MBA and I was climbing the corporate ladder and getting promoted all the time in the good old boy network of Houston, Texas in the 90s. I was really good at outmanning the men. But then I wanted the men to take me out. And occasionally that would happen, but we'd lose the spark quite quickly because I thought that what men wanted, and we're talking men and women right now, so I'm holding masculine and feminine and men and women together. They're not always synonymous. So I just want to name that for people that hear masculine and feminine in this. They're not synonymous. I am in this moment talking about them as masculine and men and feminine and women. It's an important one. And so I was so masculine and I was attracted to masculine men. I was not attracted to the more laissez-faire, go with the flow, nice guy. That wasn't hot for me. But here's the problem. Masculine and feminine are like poles of a magnet. And so masculine attracts feminine like positive attracts negative in magnets. So they come together and they stick, and it takes some force to pull them apart. But if I flip a magnet, remember when we played with magnets as kids, and you try to bring the same ends of the magnet together, they won't go together. They just keep trying to flip away from each other. So this is the same dynamic that's happening in our romantic connections. And attraction and chemistry and that sustained passion have to do with this masculine and feminine dynamic. So here I am, strong, successful, powerful, but I want you to take me out. I want you to put me against the wall and kiss me. I want to be ravished. I want to have the doors opened. And yet at the same time, where some part of me wanted that, I was ashamed of it. It felt like I was betraying the feminist movement. It felt like I was going to get judged as weak. And so I put on that persona that said, I got anything. I don't need you. Now, I don't need a man. No woman needs a man today. However, the masculine wants to contribute. And the only way the masculine can contribute is if the feminine is willing to receive. So if we walk around and we go, I got it, and we're trying to prove how successful and how strong we are, that's not going to be intimidating, but it's not going to be compelling. Now, what some women hear, and that is, oh, I got to dumb myself down so that he thinks I'm all feminine. No, find the truth within us. What I had to do when I woke up and went, I got introduced to masculine and feminine, and I sat there for a day in a workshop with my jaw on the floor going, oh my God, this explains my challenges with orgasms. It explains my success. It explains my resentment. It explains my exhaustion. It explains why we're good for a little bit, and then it fizzles into that friend zone. So the heart of it is for this woman or anyone like her is to take the journey to find out the true expression of masculine and feminine within us. Because back in those corporate days, I would have sworn I was masculine. But my clue was I was not attracted to feminine men. We're attracted to our opposites. So I was running a lot of masculine energy. I was attracted to a masculine man. That's a clue that something's probably not showing up authentically in me. So then my job is to come back home to myself and go, oh yeah, there is a feminine being. And I do like it when you open my door. I'm really honored when you offer to pay for dinner. And I'm going to receive that and let you know. I could do it, but it feels really good. And I'm actually attracted to that. So that's my invitation to this woman, is to go back to who she is and then find out how that dances with who she's attracted to.
And self-check-in is super important, because we are in an era where we hear self-work a lot and we think we're always working on ourselves. But however, the only thing that's more important than working on yourself is being honest with yourself. Because if you're not being honest on what you need to work on and you're working on all of the wrong things, you're still not going to find that level of acceptance, that level of homeostasis, that warm, cozy Goldilocks and the Three Bears feeling of this is just right. This is who I am, because you're not building the things that need to be built. I love that story, that question, because a lot of times we talk about this. We have the girl boss era, and then the I can do bad all by myself. Like, because you're right. No woman needs a man.
But most want one.
Exactly. And that's the thing. Wanting one is super nice, but you have to ask yourself or find the balance between, because as a man, I can say this, I've done it. We have to check our insecurities in our masculine when someone who identifies as a woman presents a masculine to you. I know it's polarizing, like you just don't connect, but if you take the time and you're both authentic beings with each other, sure, you might have some masculine tendencies like you did, just manning the men, but I could also probably see, if I really got to know you or we spent a little time together, that she is who she is, but I'm still going to open the door. I'm still buying dinner. I'm still embracing my authentic masculine. And somehow, even if it's in the back or the middle, I'm attracting her authentic feminine to me, and vice versa. I am almost 6'3", 200 and something pound man, but that doesn't mean I don't still enjoy back scratches and a little snug on the couch with my partner. That's not exactly, masculine to some people, but that doesn't make me any less masculine.
Not at all. Not at all. And I think there's a couple of things that are really important in there. When you owning your masculine, and you said, be honest with yourself. So I have two things that I feel like are really important. One is like that, be honest with yourself, but go back to know thyself. I didn't know myself. I thought I was one thing, but I was performing in that. There was so much of it that was about who I thought I was supposed to be, or what would make me safe, or what would make me respected. And yet there was a very different woman living underneath that. So that's the know thyself. And then yes, to the man who's taking out a more masculine woman, like he can still stand up in that masculine energy. But what is interesting is that quite often the men who are taking out the strongest women, the women who are in more of their masculine energy, have actually created a polarization because they have leaned back from their own masculinity. They've leaned into that nice guy. And so that's part of for where we've got to look at the strong independent woman on this side and where that's performative, where the nice guy has also been a masking strategy to try to be the good man, to try to be liked. And so we just want to watch again. She's going masculine. Okay, I'm going to go more masculine. There's a limit to that. And so I just want to like nobody pretzel twisting.
Right. I was like, this isn't tug of war
No,
for who's wearing the quote unquote pants in the relationship.
no,
Thank you,
not
because
at
some
all.
people might have misconstrued what I said, so I'm glad you brought that up. Before we move on to the next case, I do want to take a moment in this because I think it's a great thing that been lucky enough to bring to most of my relationships. And I'm not going to say I'm the nice guy, but I don't have to be machismo either.
No,
And when you know yourself, that silent confidence hits and speaks so differently than somebody who has to scream it from the mountaintop or who has to like jump in your face saying, I'm the man, I'm the man, I'm the man, listen to me.
right. That's actually a cover up for we're not believing in himself in that capacity. The presence of a masculine being who clearly knows who he is and he stands in that and he can open his heart. Ooh, that's hot. That's hot to the feminine. Like presence is the number one thing. So I know who I am. I'm here, I'm clear, I'm present. I got my heart open. Woof. That's a good thing.
And yeah, guys, I didn't want to be the one to tell you this. That's why I preface it to Joanna. So you're hearing it from not just another perspective, but you're hearing it from somebody who identifies opposite of me that, yeah, it's going to be hard. Yeah, it's going to take some time. But really, like, just get to know who you are. Ask yourself the hard questions, even if you don't want to admit it to other people. Ask yourself, find out the version of you that makes you the happiest. If I want to dance like nobody's watching in the middle of a store or a function or wherever I get the urge to, I'm going to do that because that's what I want to do. How people perceive me does not change my value or doesn't change my femininity, my masculinity, how I face.
Yes.
And once you embrace that, because I'll come out of the dance break and then I'll still look over and find whatever person is catching my eye and take them with me. Because yeah, that was a goofy, kooky, crazy moment, but that was genuine, you know? And then you come back and I was like, yeah, I did what I did. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If not, you know, you owned it. Owning it and then presenting that back to another person, even if at first they're like, I don't know. Once you confidently present it back to them,
Yes.
they can appreciate that.
We want truth more than anything. We feel safe in the presence of that authenticity.
But that goes vice versa because
Oh, yeah,
I was like,
totally.
we enjoy truth as well.
Yep.
Men really might be more emotional in a sense. And what I mean by that is we love to be golden retrievers. We will be so fierce, so loyal. We
Yeah.
will just get so excited for you. But the minute we feel betrayed or taken advantage of, it's like furious black cat. Like it flips so quickly. And then it dominoes into other relationships or aspects of our life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, really, authentic relationships are the safest relationships. Period. End of story.
Yeah. It's like you get a better time overall, just being honest. I don't need one that's Instagram worthy. I don't need one that has a 95% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes. I just need one that makes me happy and then makes the person that I'm with happy. That's really the main thing that I care about in my relationship.
Yes. 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 Yes.
We spent a lot of time talking about our future selves, like sitting down, getting to know who we are, how to move forward. But let's take a step back and turn around. What's one thing that you've changed your mind about over the years? Has there really been another kind of like topic or stance that you've taken that no longer served you and
Mm.
today you're almost completely 180 on it?
Yeah, the biggest one that comes up is actually self-love.
Okay.
And again, I said the strength of the relationship with ourselves determines the strength of the relationship with another. But what underlines that is underneath, what's underlying that strong relationship with ourselves is our capacity to be compassionate, kind, loving, honoring, respectful of ourselves. And I go back 25 years, and the amount of self-hatred that lived in this body was enormous. The perfectionism that accompanies a lack of self-worth and that constant proving and striving. And there's that old adage, we can't love another until we love ourselves. And it used to piss me off because I was like, I got so much love. I got so much love. But I thought I had so much love because it had been the thing that I thought would get me love. So it was strategy more than authenticity. Yes, there is a big heart here. And yes, there was love in there, but it always had strings attached. I wanted to love you, so you loved me. And so until I can love this being and I don't have to get your love, as long as I'm trying to get your love, I'm either manipulating me or manipulating you. And this is cut to the chase truth, but as long as I need that because I'm not giving love to myself, I cannot love you well.
Couldn't agree more.
And so that's the biggest change in this. The masculine feminine was huge. The journey back to honoring this being and believing in its worth and its value and its lovability was the most critical journey.
It always will be. You are always the most important relationship in your life because if you're not showing up for you, how are you supposed to do that to anybody else? And then how is anybody supposed to do that for you? Because you're not gonna know how to receive it because you've never practiced it. You've never embodied it. You're not living it. So I'm completely with Joanna on that one. I know you don't like to use the word toxic, so I'll use your verbiage. What is one of the most spiritually immature or unawakened things that people justify calling it healing?
Interesting question. Around masculinity
Yeah,
or in general?
I would say just around even just like love, like the relationship.
Mm,
Because either way, both sides of the coin, there are things that we do because we're so in love. The self help movement has kind of blown up, and not
yeah.
every aspect of it is really
Yes.
helping with self.
Yes. Okay. So I think I have two answers. And one is around conflict and the other is around who's the priority. So we've already talked about conflict a little bit. So let's name that. We should keep the peace. We have a great relationship if we're not in conflict. And that is a setup because no two people, no matter how awake they are, no matter how compatible they are, no two people are ever going to see eye to eye on everything. So that idea of I can't get angry, I can't get upset, I have to be nice, I have to be loving, yes, we want to be conscious. Yes, we want to be aware of how we're communicating our upsets. But that idea that I shouldn't get angry, I should keep the peace, I should be loving, I should be compassionate, and we self-abandon in the process trying to keep the peace. So I'd say that's one of the spiritual unconscious things that happens. And then the other one is it's similar, but your needs are more important than mine. If I'm a good partner, I'm going to prioritize what you want over what that is an absolute setup for failure.
So good. I want you to stay right there for a moment because every time I get on a flight, I think about this scenario. They always tell you to put your mask on before helping anybody else because you could help more people that way. But for some reason, when we are taught to be a good partner, compromise is the leading force. And yes, compromise is necessary. However, you have to be selfish to be selfless.
Yes.
Because if your needs are not being met and your cup doesn't become full, you're just going to keep depleting until it's empty and you can't be there for somebody else. So I love that you said that because it just reinforces kind of that ideology.
Absolutely. And even compromise can be a trap because in compromise, it feels like someone loses. And if someone's repeatedly losing or both people are repeatedly losing. I have to give up something so that we're okay. That loss over time will create resentment and distance. And we don't see the resentment building until we are way far down the road from all those times that we said, it's okay, I'm fine, whatever you want, honey. And then we can't figure out why we're so resentful, why we don't feel what we felt. And so this criticality of looking for how does any situation that we face, how can it feel good to both of us, and stay in until we can both feel good and neither one feels like they're losing.
I do love that because I hate when we make relationships, especially romantic ones, win lose. Like somebody has to be winning, somebody has to be losing. I don't like to use like those words when I'm talking about my relationship. I like to say, here's how I'm showing up, or we're showing up for each other, because that's really what it boils down to is me showing up for you and filling your cup doesn't necessarily come at the price of me abandoning my
Yes,
own.
yes, exactly. Where it gets really good is my giving becomes my receiving. And my receiving, because we're so good at giving and receiving in authentic ways, not obligated ways. Like obligation will destroy. That's another destroyer.
No, obligatory is a word I just do not, I don't do. Once
Yes,
again, being selfish is selfless. I
yes,
don't like, you don't want me to do something just because I feel bad or I think that I have to. You, especially if you're an acts of service person or words of affirmation, you don't want your partner just saying compliments or just things to you because they know that's your love language or what makes you happy. It's like you want them to say the thing or do the thing because they were genuinely thinking about you and it made them happy to do this, to show up for you.
yes, exactly.
Now, this is a really big question, and then like we'll move on. But do you think that we use the word healing in order to avoid intimacy? A
Mm,
lot of times we are afraid to get back out there after a breakup, or you've
mm,
been single for a while and you're like, I'm working on me, I'm healing, I'm on my journey. And so we don't take chances to
mm.
actually connect and be intimate with people. To me, sometimes I feel like people use their healing process or their healing journey as a way to keep themselves from really being intimate.
Yeah, I totally hear what you're saying. And I probably hold a slightly different take because go back to the strength of this relationship and the self-love. And if I'm not perfect, I'm not talking perfect, but I'm talking quality. There's a quality relationship here. There's a quality of love. There's a quality of security in this being. Then I have the capacity to dance imperfectly in a romantic dance of dating or long-term relationship. I honestly believe there are too many people that get back out there too fast and they just end up repeating the patterns because they don't slow down and go, what was happening here that had me attract that person? What was happening here that had me abandon myself? What was happening here that had me keep the peace? What was happening here that had me dance in my attachment styles? And so I actually, when transparency, I suggest that if singles are not dating someone or in a relationship, when they come in, I guess singles, but not in a relationship, when they come into our work, that for about 3 months ish, they take the time to get back into relationship with themselves, to come home to who they are, because they're going to attract an entirely different person and their capacity to navigate, to show up and go, you know what, here's what I really want. They're going to have more capacity for that. To go, oh, we just had our first little challenge. They're going to have more capacity to stay in. So I actually believe the healing journey back to self-love, back to secure attachment doesn't have to be 100% done, but quality, looking a solidity on that journey rather than thinking getting back out there. I hear it so many times, when I meet a person, then I'll do the relationship work. No, no, do the work now.
I think we're in agreement on that. And this is a question people ask me all the time. And it's honestly a hard one. I haven't found the perfect answer for it. because I'm about the same way. Is it's about the quality of the work you do, not many times you do it or when you
Yes.
start.
Yes.
But then they ask, can you be single too long? And that's what I mean by they use it as a tool to distance themselves, because there's no time frame on when your reset is complete or your work is done. And it's really, it's never done. Every day you should still be working on yourself,
Yes.
whether you're in partnership or unpartnered. However, if you're, I don't want to use the word afraid, if you're so focused on just continually being better that you're trying to achieve this perfect person, that you're gonna forget how to be a partner. It's great that you'll know how to be you. However, if you forget how to be a partner, then kind of all the work feels like it's for naught sometimes.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. And I think the other nuance that I'll bring in is that if somebody's in the work and they're not getting back out there and that, dating and is, keeps getting put on the back burner, I'm like, okay, hang on, let's talk about what are the risks? What are the fears? What's the imagination of what's going to happen if you get back out there? Because that's going to help us bring up what other barriers are in place. So the minute that it feels like it's gone past that time, that's the time to look at what part of me is scared, what part of me is still uncertain, which is still the self-work, but it's not just pushing myself out there, it's acknowledging, oh yeah, there might be some sabotaging energy here, oh there might be some resistant energy here, now let's look at that.
Okay, that was a better statement I could have made. Is, do we sometimes self-sabotage on that journey? And I agree to that point. Listen, I get it, it's scary. I think the longest I had ever been outside of a relationship was 6, 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
And when I decided that I was ready, or a version of me was at a point where we could bring somebody else into, it felt so hard. It felt so exhausting. I felt like it was day one at elementary school all over again, and I had to learn just basic
Wow.
building blocks. It put me behind because, like, without the fundamentals, I had to, like, relearn fundamentals to even get to the starting line of how to date. And it took me a while to get my feet back under me before I got the rhythm of, this is how you do a date again. This is how you become a boyfriend. This is how you become whatever you're defining your relationship as.
Mm. Yeah, I can totally hear that. And I'm always looking for that space of just inspired and it's natural and might feel a little weird, but it's coming from more of an easeful place. And I totally appreciate like I forgot how to ride the bicycle.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, "Oh, you never," like, it's like riding a bike, you'll remember it. No, it's not, because sometimes the dust has dust and it's now rusted off and fallen apart. I don't remember how to to do this, but hopefully before you get to that point, you find a spot in yourself that you're willing to open back up and try connecting. You said we've redefined what success means in a relationship, so knowing this new definition, hopefully you are more apt to take more chances and at different points of that journey reacclimate into that world.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I have 3 burning questions, so we're gonna do the quickest of the quickies.
Okay.
The challenge that I'm giving to you, you only get 1 sentence to answer these questions. I
Okay.
just wanna know, like, your gut instinct reaction, you don't have to think too hard about them.
Okay.
Jealousy, do you think that it serves more as information for your body, or is it a great display of your insecurity?
I lean towards it as display of your insecurity,
I do too. I'm glad that we were on the same page on that one. What is one thing that you think people should stop apologizing for in relationships?
being themselves.
I agree. What is more vulnerable? I love you. I need you. I was wrong.
Mm. They're all vulnerable. And the one that feels riskiest is I was wrong.
Honestly, I totally agree. The first time you tell somebody you love them, huge moment. Saying that I need you, not necessarily my favorite saying, little codependent, but the hardest thing is not just swallowing your pride, but realizing that if you want longevity, you have to admit that you're not a perfect being and that you are human, and hope that the other person can see and forgive you for that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's the only path to true repair.
Last question in this quickie. What's one thing that's hidden under your covers these days that you're still learning about?
Interestingly enough, self love, that's been the core of my work. And I am discovering the most exquisite experiences of self love. I've come so far from that self hatred, and that's been true for years. But I've had the opportunity to pull back the layers even deeper to an experience of self love that I don't think much of the world has any idea could exist that way. And I'm still on that journey, but there's a sweetness to it that I didn't ever imagine before.
That's amazing. It really is important to really love yourself. I don't know how I made it to the end of the episode and forgot to ask. Are you currently partnered or unpartnered?
At this moment, I am currently unpartnered. And because, and even one of the mentors that I'm working with to keep pulling back those layers, she's like, not yet, not yet. Because there's so much change that's happening here right now.
I love that because I think that also changes the question and gives a little bit of insight when you're partnered, but you're still finding time and ways to learn about you and experience that self love. So, like I said, I love that you're on this journey and you're working with people to help keep you on the right path of discovery. Sometimes we get a little lost, we
Yeah.
can't find the light. So it's good to have some help.
Well, and even, what you make me think of there is when I work with couples, even if they've been married for decades, we start with what's going on with each of them individually. We start with the self relationship because what many people try to do is solve the relationship problems at the level of the relationship. But it's not what's happening between them that's the problem. It's what's happening within them. And I say a problem, but the challenges are created by what's happening within us.
Hmm.
So we've got to go back here and strengthen this relationship before we can start to resolve the differences that are happening within us. So that's this core piece, partnered or unpartnered, that I know me, then I can share me with you.
That and it's so true. That's really the biggest thing is letting somebody in and sharing that light that exists with them.
The thing that feels most vulnerable, the thing that we least want to say, whether that's about I'm still hurting, or that's about I long for this, or it's about, yeah, I'm ready to get back out there and date and I'm scared. Doesn't matter. It's the thing that feels the hardest to say. That's what I want them to say.
It's okay to get the butterflies, but you can't be afraid when you're in any type of relationship. And what I mean by that is things will be difficult to talk about, but if you really want to invest in longevity, you have to do the scary thing, do the big thing, do the thing that is so vulnerable that you think you might die if you say out loud.
Yes. And if you need it, get support. Like reach out. There's people that support people. But that's the thing. Whatever it takes to be able to say the thing that you haven't wanted to say. That's the most important thing.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us today, taking that cover and just ripping it off the bed and just exposing the parts of us that we've been hiding and afraid to unmask for so long. What's next for you? What's coming up? The summer's just starting. There's still a whole lot of 2026 left. What can we expect to see?
Yeah, so ecstatic intimacy, there's a couple of different things that are very specifically playing out. We have our ongoing programs that are happening all the time, and we've got a divine masculine and feminine retreat coming up towards the end of August. And then we have our conscious sexuality retreat coming up at the beginning of October. And so those are our next big public retreats. And then our website is constantly getting new articles and information, and from there, if someone wants to look at the deeper program work that's always ongoing, there's opportunities to schedule private conversations to explore that.
Well, I will be sure to leave all those links in the description or the show notes, depending where you're tuning in at. And hopefully, you guys, if you have the availability, that you're checking out some of these workshops, because there's nothing more exhilarating than being excited about not just you, but your partner, your relationship, making sure that you guys, if you are partnered, can do another 50 years. Like you're just getting started all over again. We love love, and we want you to keep loving your love. So whether it's with me, whether it's with Joanna and the plethora of other people out there, take the time and invest in you. That's really the most important thing. And then I will see all you amazing bachelors, bachelorettes, and partnered people next week for an all new episode of the Not So Bad Bachelor Pad. See you guys.